Let's get peppy. This is PEP 103. I am Chaz Ciadello from the ABC's Planet America, and this is Dr. Dave Smith, who, as always,
is from the US Studies Centre at the University of Sydney.
Yeah, don't you want to dissociate everything you say from the
Well,
US
yes,
Studies
yeah.
Centre?
These are not the views of the US Studies Centre. Yes, these are my own personal views.
That's right. I didn't warn him I was going to do
Yes.
that. But yeah,
No.
we want to get that out there so that way you can get the good
These
stuff
are my
out.
personal... The US Studies Centre does not speak with a single voice, especially not with mine.
Yeah.
So
It's very important we get that on the record so you can be as defamatory as possible. The good stuff.
I don't do defo.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You yell like you're going to do defo, but actually you're quite gentle.
That's the secret.
Yes.
Yes.
As always, if 2 hours of this is not enough for you, you can watch more on Monday nights, Planet America, ABC TV, or on Facebook, ABC Planet America, or on iView, or on ABC News in Depth. And you can also find on those same places Off the Planet, which is our extra. That's enough of the plugging. I have some updates right off the bat for you.
Okay, yes.
Special presents for you.
Okay,
in the
great.
hopes that this
Thank you.
will bring the good, the defamatory stuff that we referred to before.
Yeah.
Number one, you were surprised a few weeks back about some Pew polling, which I cited, about the IRS.
Oh, yes.
Having reasonable popularity.
Yes, yeah.
Well, there's been another poll from Gallup, which will surprise you less.
Right.
Which I thought I'd bring to the party.
Yeah.
Which is the IRS. People who think the IRS is excellent or good is 34%.
Right.
But people who say it's fair,
Yep.
35%.
Okay, yeah.
So that's
yeah.
So that's 69%
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not negative.
Yeah.
So I mean
that's still pretty good as far as any American institution goes.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Well,
that is still higher than I would have expected.
the interesting thing out of those numbers was the thing which I was really surprised by.
Yes.
And I'm not going to test you on this because no one would ever guess this is the case. But
Right.
it really surprised me. In this same Gallup numbers, the FBI got 50% saying it's excellent or good. Compared to 53% in 2003. I would have thought in 2003, the FBI would have been considerably more popular than it is at the moment, given it's been through the mud for the last 5 or 6 years. But apparently not, at least not according to Gallup.
Look, both of these data points are sort of evidence of the fact that everything that's going on in Trump world is not the whole country.
Yeah.
Right. So, yes, the whole defund the FBI campaign, the FBI is out to get Trump. That is the holding of a section of the true believers, who... And it amounts to a net loss of 3% in the FBI's popularity.
I should say that those numbers have become more partisan, though. For the
Yeah, of
reasons
course.
That you just said,
I
which is Democrats saying it's excellent or good, 79%.
Yeah.
Republicans, 29%. Which is, once again, actually not as big a spread as I would have expected.
Right, yes, yeah.
But yeah.
It is actually interesting because given, as I have said many times before, the FBI is a historically very conservative institution.
It is.
Yes.
It is. Another second present for you. Oh, so many treats for Dave.
Yes.
This time it's a research treat, which I've got a little study here, which I'm actually going to link so you can all read it if you want.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a gate where you
Right. A paywall.
A paywall. I don't think there's a paywall on this one.
Yep.
Which refers to something which we've both independently talked about, but you talked about most recently.
Yep.
So I was letting you know it's from the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and it's about affective polarization.
Okay,
right?
yes.
And
affective polarization.
Yes. And it says that digital media is driving affective polarization. No, not a big surprise there. But this is the bit I found interesting because this was just what you were saying quite recently.
Yeah.
Which was the author suggests that the political polarization in America and other countries is not growing because people are hiving off into their own little social media echo chambers. Quite the opposite.
Yes.
He says, quote, empirical literature suggests that digitalization does not appear to lead to a reduction of interaction across political divides, but quite the opposite. It confronts us with diverse individuals, perspectives and viewpoints, often in contentious ways. By connecting individuals with others from outside their local social bubbles, digital media pressure local political cultures to align globally.
Yes.
Over time, the system comes to sort on the global scale, with a single political culture becoming system-wide.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Who were the authors of this study?
Oh, I don't have the... Hang on.
That's pretty
I'll look it up.
important, Chaz.
I don't know how the academics do it. I'd say study.
While you're looking it up, this relates to...
Peter Tonberg from the University of Amsterdam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Peter Tonberg. Yeah. This relates to something that has often come through in the study of social contact. Okay, so there's a very old hypothesis in social science, which is known as the social contact hypothesis, which is that if you interact more with a group, you'll become less hostile towards that group. Now, over time, that has become a very conditional claim, right? Not just any interaction is going to reduce hostility, some are going to increase hostility. So it depends on the right kinds of interactions happening in the right kinds of circumstances. And certainly digital media at the moment is geared to the wrong kinds of interactions in all of the wrong kinds of circumstances. So yes, I am not surprised by that finding at all.
Yep. And if you want to read about it, it's in the homework, which is in the blurb underneath the Facebook and YouTube videos. Before we get into the main topics of the day,
yes,
I have been led to believe by Dr. David Smith that he has something very special for us today. He has a special Stats Nugget Dave!
And in true Stats Nugget fashion, this isn't genuine statistics at all. This is just a few numbers. So this is a bit outside the remit of PEP because we're looking at British politics. Yeah. So the most remarkable fact here is that Liz Truss has resigned after 45 days as Prime Minister.
Yep. Which you informed me of.
Yes, that is the shortest prime ministerial reign in British history, somewhat longer than the shortest American presidential reign in history, William Henry Harrison.
But much longer than the shortest Australian prime ministership. Frank Ford, 9 days.
Yes, Good old Frank Ford, Labor caretaker prime minister between Curtin and Chifley. Yes, and I'm glad that we've got this 3-country comparison because I'm going to do a couple of these. So that's the most remarkable fact. The second most remarkable fact is that Chaz didn't know about this until I told him 5 minutes ago.
I would have found out when I started reading.
Yeah. Anyway, so I am 41 years old. That makes me...
Is that a stat nugget?
No, that is not a stat nugget, but it's related to a stat nugget. That makes me slightly older than the median British age, which is 40.5 years old. Okay. Now, so in my lifetime, I have only experienced 2 occasions when the party of government has changed in Britain. In that whole time since I was born, in 1980, only changed twice. That was Tony Blair winning with Labor in 1997 and David Cameron winning with the Conservatives in 2010. By comparison, I've seen 5 changes of party government in Australia during that time.
3 years.
And if we measure it by who's in the White House, 7 in the US during the same period, but only 2 in Britain. Now, in my lifetime, there have been 8 British prime ministers. 4 of them have come and gone in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, this picture of sort of stability of governing party, but complete instability of prime minister, it's something that we're fairly familiar with in Australia. But Britain seems to be descending into this sort of hyperspeed version of it at the moment.
Yeah. This is something that I think we've referred in passing a little bit on this podcast before, but it's just a theory I've been running with for a while. That I made a bet with one of my cast members, Kirsten Drysdale, in a previous show back in about 2013.
Yep.
When I was saying this is the new normal. What's going on with the Australian prime ministership? It's new. I blame social media and a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
I won't go into the details why because it was hijacked this podcast. But I just said get used to this, at least for the medium term.
Now in Australia, they have tried to mitigate that problem through rules changes about what is actually required to change the prime minister. Now there have been rules changes in the British party system as well to open it up, make it more democratic. Almost, though not exactly, something resembling the US primary system. That is, it is actually put to a ballot of grassroots members. And I think it was something like 18,000 Conservative members actually voted in this election. So that is supposed to make everything more stable.
Yeah. If I'm right, it doesn't make it more stable.
Well,
it just means you change the party more.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. And anyway, Liz Truss will be remembered as this is what Thatcherism looks like without the gravitas of Thatcher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that is my stats nugget.
That was beautiful. That was wonderful. And we should get into the content. As far as I think from now on, apart from the next podcast, which I'll tell you about at the end of this podcast.
Very exciting.
It's apart from the next one, I think from now on we should just start every podcast with 2022 stuff because we're getting close to the midterms now,
yes.
whether it be polling or what's going on in the States.
Yeah.
And so I think this is no different. Let's start with the polling this week because a lot has happened in the last week as far as polling goes. Now, we should just put a disclaimer on here that polls do come and go.
Yes.
In particular with midterms, I think that people pay less attention to midterms than they do with presidential.
Yeah.
And so I think if you see massive changes in polling, you should be suspicious that they're outliers.
Yeah.
Because it's harder to change people's minds when they're not paying quite as close attention as they would. Although having said that, I think this election, increasingly people are paying more attention than they used to.
Yeah, but another thing is, I think the reason why quite big shifts, as we have seen this year, have taken place from Republican to Democrat to Republican again, as we're going to say, it's partly because turnout in midterms is relatively low. Often it's less than 50% of the population. So, the big thing is which electorate is actually turning up. These polls might not be reflecting people changing their minds. It might just be reflecting more people from one side feel like turning up than another.
Especially given every poll that you're seeing now is being run through a likely voter model.
Yes.
So how the particular polling organisation determines what defines a likely voter actually makes quite a difference.
Yes.
Anyway, let me go through a few polls, and I know you're going to jump onto. I'll leave the most famous one till last, and then you can jump onto that. There's been a number of polls that are quite positive for Republicans in the last week. I mentioned one on Play America recently, which was that CNN's latest poll had 50 to 47 Democrat likely voters, full stop.
Right.
But in competitive districts,
it
was 48 to 43 to Republicans.
Yeah.
So that's an 8-point turnaround between just normal national likely voters and competitive districts.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yes.
And in particular, if you look, the issues in that CNN poll were even starker. Remember, I've told you guys a few times, look at how the issues are going because that often determines what people vote for, the issues they're interested in. 59% of registered voters so this is not likely voter models.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
But still, registered voters, 59%, nationally said the economy was extremely important to their vote. 56% said inflation was, 52% said abortion was. But in competitive districts, extremely important issues for registered voters changed. Economy went up from 59 to 67%.
Yes.
Inflation went up from 56 to 64%, and abortion stayed at 52%.
Right.
So the economy is more important to the competitive districts than to the nation as a whole.
Yes.
Which was, good news for Republicans, not so good news for the Democrats. Kaiser asked people to name an issue they wanted to hear candidates discuss. They did not mention any issues.
Yes, yeah.
They solicited issues from the candidates. 35% cited economic concerns. 15% cited what they grouped as abortion.
Yep.
And 9% said immigration. Crime was actually right down the bottom.
Yeah.
But anyway, just so that's one where they're not feeding them the issues. That's what people are supplying. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
CBS, 48% said Democratic policies had harmed the economy compared to 29% who said Democratic policies had helped the economy. 68% said the Biden administration could be doing more to combat inflation. Now, that's a poisonous number, 68%.
Yeah, that really is. Yeah.
It's because obviously inflation is a big issue in America at the moment. Now, the most nightmarish poll is not the one I'm saving for the end, which is the New York Times poll.
Yes, yeah.
It's the Harvard-Harris poll. It was even more nightmarish than the New York Times poll, which I'll tell you about the Harvard-Harris first, then we'll talk about the New York Times.
Yep.
Harvard-Harris had the generic poll being at 50-50, and the likely voters, Republicans, had a 6-point lead.
Yeah.
The top 5 issues in this poll were inflation 37%, economy jobs 29%, immigration 23%, crime 18%, then women's rights 17%, and they also had climate change at 14%, and January 6th at 7%.
Yeah.
Republicans were seen to be focused on immigration, 37% said that, Inflation, 24% said that. Economy, 21% said that. So the top three issues is what Republicans were seen to be focused on.
Yes, yeah.
Democrats were seen to be focused on January 6th, 27%. Women's rights, 25%. Climate change, 23%. So the fifth biggest issue, and then loose change.
Yes.
Inflation was seen as making people more likely to vote Republican by 48 to 36. Crime was seen to make people more likely to vote Republican, 47 to 35. Immigration, more likely to vote Republican, 46 to 35. Each of them are what, 10 to 15 points each, the gap. Abortion, more likely to vote Democrat, 41 to 38. Climate change, more likely to vote Democrat, 40 to 35. So not only did Democrats have the less popular issues, but they got a smaller slice of those issues as well. And finally, 57% of people say their personal financial situation is getting worse. 57% of people.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the nightmare poll. That's the worst one.
Yes.
Okay, because that's not a partisan poll,
Yep.
and those are terrible numbers.
Yes.
Okay, that is a wave kind of number. Then there's the New York Times, which is the one I've been saving until last. Registered voters, 46-46. Likely voters, 49 to 45 Republican. So that's a 4-point turnaround in a month, by the way. Biden approval, 39%, 58% disapproval. Right track, wrong track numbers, 24 to 64. Most important issue, economy, jobs, 26%. Inflation, cost of living, 18%. State of democracy, 8%. Abortion, 5%. This is the most important issue.
Yep.
Immigration, 5%. Polarization, 4%. Once again, crime, 3%. So a couple of these polls, crime is quite low. Some of them, crime's quite high. It's a bit weird. Independent women, this was the real stat. Independent women, which the Democrats have a laser-like focus on at the moment with their abortion issue, went from Democrat plus 14 last month to Republican plus 18 this month. But only 95 independent women were in that poll.
Yeah.
So very small sample size.
Yeah.
Very easy for that to be an outlier.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, Dave, I know
it's really too small to make an inference.
I know you've got a lot to say about this poll. So get into
Well, so the really interesting thing about this poll, and one of the things that was showcased on the New York Times website, is the age breakdown. Okay, so by age, 18 to 29 years old, that is 52 Democrat, 40 Republican. That's kind of what we've come to expect. Ditto, 30 to 44s, that's 50% Democrat, 41 Republican. Interestingly, 65 and older, which you usually think of as a fairly Republican-leaning demographic, is 48-48 in this poll.
Okay.
So, then what is giving Republicans the massive edge in this poll, given that we've done boomers and they're dead even, we've done millennials and they're, favouring Democrats as we'd expect, we've done Zoomers and they're favouring Democrats even more. Gen X, 45 to 64 years old, give Republicans the advantage by 59% to 38%.
the Joe Rogan vote.
Democrats. Now I looked at this and it was surprising in a lot of ways. Like, to me, it's the contrast between that and the boomer one makes me think that this might be an outlier.
Yeah.
I think that there are a few strange things about this poll. I was tempted to try and think of reasons like, say, okay, people aged between 45 and 64, that's kind of the peak of your earning power, right? And these are people who are much more likely to have mortgages, which they have not yet paid off. So I was thinking possibly interest rate rises are hitting these people harder. Inflation might also be hitting these people harder. But then I saw Meghan McCarthy attempt a generational analysis in the Washington Post, and I thought, oh no, I'm just throwing this out the window.
This felt dirty.
This one is just, I'm just putting this one down to it's a bit of a weird poll.
Yeah.
Unless I see something else suggesting that Gen X has gone fully in the tank for the Republicans, while even boomers are sitting on the fence. I'm going to discount this one for a while.
Look, I can't explain Generation X, but we'll say this. There was...
You're part of Generation X, Chase.
I am.
I think I am technically as well.
Yeah. I think both you and I count as Zennials.
I think...
It's like generation analysis.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm definitely Generation X.
Yeah.
I'm not I don't think I'm going to be voting for Republicans.
No.
but
Not unless you commit fraud.
Yes. We'll get to that, actually. That's a topic later on. But I will add one thing to bear in mind with New York Times' polls. They've been very transparent, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nate Cohen writes some great articles going to extreme detail of the way they poll.
Yeah.
And one of the things he's been saying is that they've been trying to deal with the inaccurate polls over the last few elections. And one of the things he said was that they've been using additional information in terms of their controlling about the attitudes of respondents.
Right.
Some of the things he said is they use whether they're likely to vote, obviously.
Yep.
Whether respondents are undecided, whether their views about the president align with their party.
Okay. Yeah.
Whether they like the candidate they intend to vote for.
Right. Yep.
And all these things go into their likely voter model, and they weight them right now. Also they give even more weight to a respondent's track record of voting than they did in the past. Now that's fine, but we've seen in the last few polls a lot of support for Democrats when they don't support Biden.
Right, yes.
And so I could see that potentially affecting their likely voter model.
Okay, yes.
The other thing which we've seen is we've seen Democrats talking a lot about registering new voters off the back of abortion.
Yep.
So if you register a new voter, they don't have a track record of voting.
Right, okay.
So now that's not me running off this poll. As I just said, I just railed through 5 other polls.
Yes,
They're positive for Republicans this week. I think there's definitely a trend going on.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that I think it'd be wise to just look at a few other polls.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And certainly, I mean, polling is so hard now.
Yeah.
And I respect the job that these pollsters are doing. But as you said, as Nate Cohen mentioned a few weeks ago, when you've got a response rate
0.4%.
0.4%. Yes. It's going to be pretty hard. Having said that, I mean, I think that you can look at the totality of it and just see that the same polls, which were looking a lot more positive for Democrats a few weeks ago, are looking a lot more positive for Republicans now. And I think that quite simply, those issues that were dominating over the American summer, you can't keep the attention on them forever. That is Trump's misdeeds and abortion. It's very hard to keep the focus on those things when the economic news continues to be so worrying, where we're basically oscillating back and forth between inflation and recession as the dominant themes of the news. So I think that unless there is some sort of systematic error going on in the Democrats' favor, which is something we have not seen for a while in polling, then I find it very hard to see Republicans not winning the House. And it's still not out of the question that it could be by quite a big margin. The Senate as well is looking worse for Democrats now.
Yes. I was going to give you the 538 current numbers.
Yeah.
They've over the last month dropped the chances of the Dems keeping the Senate from 71% to 61%.
Yeah.
And what's going into that is in particular in Nevada, Masto, the Democrat, has dropped from Cortez Masto has dropped from 61% chance to a 49% chance.
Yep.
Fetterman has dropped from an 83% chance in Pennsylvania to a 68% chance.
Yep.
And in Wisconsin, Barnes Mandela Barnes, and in North Carolina, Cheryl Beasley have dropped from about 40% chance to a 27% chance.
Yes, yeah.
So you put all them together, and it's becoming really close to a 50-50. I might say none of those are unexpected movements.
No.
We have foreshadowed all those things were going to happen, but now they have happened.
Yeah. And one of the things that's going on, and Aaron Blake wrote about this in the Washington Post today, is that what Mitch McConnell referred to as the candidate quality problem back in the summer has had time to resolve itself, which is, yes, Republicans have picked some god-awful candidates in these places, but over the course of a few months, Republican voters come to terms with it. They make peace with it in a media environment that is encouraging everything, us to see everything in terms of a partisan contest, ultimately about control of the country, not about individual candidate qualities. People just become used to it. So the approval rating of people like Ron Johnson and Mehmet Oz has risen massively among Republicans.
Yes.
The exception to that is Herschel Walker, who actually started off very high and has eroded
good reason. Yes.
Significantly. So, yeah, I think the Senate is too close to call. It wouldn't be at all surprising if Republicans won the Senate as well.
I continue to say what I've been saying for a month now, which is that I think it is going to come down to a Georgia runoff. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a 50-50 situation.
Yeah.
And whoever wins the Georgia run, I think Georgia will go to runoff. I don't think either of them will get 50%.
Yeah.
And whoever wins the runoff wins the Senate. That's what I think is going to happen. But we'll see.
Georgia runoff. Remember in 2020, like the headline, double Georgia runoff.
Yeah.
I remember saying that sounds like something you could get at Denny's.
I'd love to buy that.
Yeah.
Also, while I'm talking 538, their house numbers as well are interesting. The GOP is favoured in 9 of the 10 seats that they regard as a likely tipping point district.
Right.
And the average chance of victory across those seats is only 60% for Republicans, but just every single one of them.
Yes, When you start tallying up the joint probabilities, that makes it pretty likely.
So
and and also having said all this, just the history of the last 10 years or so is that you're much more likely to get polling error that ultimately favors. Republicans are much more likely to outperform the polls than Democrats are.
Now, before we just do a quick pot pourri on anything 2020 related, we're going to get in here before we move on to the other topics.
2022 related.
Sorry. Yes.
Unfortunately, which is 2020 still being one of the major topics of 2020.
Yes, no, that's a fair point. I want to just play one clip, which is just, as I said, Democrats have been really struggling with this inflation economy thing. They want to be talking about abortion. That's not what the punters want to hear about, and that's not what the Republicans want to talk about, and that's not what journalists want to talk about. And so it's become quite tough for them. There's only been one person, and he's not even running, that I have seen dealing well with inflation issues, and it's Pete Buttigieg, who is made for this kind of thing.
Okay.
And I just want to play an answer from him, which I haven't heard anyone come close to this. And I just thought, wow, he should run a class, this guy. This is Pete Buttigieg talking about inflation and the spending of the Biden administration in regards to that. Here we go.
I mean, across the board, inflation is hitting people. The cost of shelter, incredible. The administration's policy, though, to speak about the affirmative, as you say, it's a better platform. So let's talk about it. If you've pumped $3.6 trillion in fiscal spending into the economy, and you're not politically getting credit for it, and inflation is not coming down, how do you argue to the American people that it's actually the best alternative?
Well, because if we hadn't done that, if we hadn't rescued the economy through the American Rescue Plan, we would not have had the 10 million jobs that were created under this president. We wouldn't be seeing some of the lowest unemployment numbers in the history of the Republic. We would be faced with the kinds of problems that we were faced with when the president arrived, which was an economy that was facing a very real risk of free fall. We're in a situation right now where demand has come back. Consumer confidence is up. People have more money in their pockets, and an almost record number of Americans are working. The other side of that is
record inflation,
and that's because that's because the supply side is straining to keep up with the demand, which is why we're also working. I think really the main factor. But imagine if we hadn't raised demand and supply was even worse, which is where we would have been if we hadn't had the infrastructure work, which is helping on the supply side, and the rescue of the American economy that has brought back demand. So if anybody's asking, was it a good idea to rescue the American economy? The answer is yes.
That guy's pretty good at his job.
Yeah.
You're not impressed?
Well,
I thought it was really good.
Look, I found it very convincing.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's actually using the kind of language that cuts through on this issue.
Okay.
I don't have any suggestion of what
I understand.
Of what kind of language would cut through.
Yeah.
But
I think he's talking to the policy nerds rather than to
absolutely. That was a good little seminar that he just gave then.
Yeah.
But anytime I find myself thinking, oh yeah, that's a good convincing explanation, I know that most people probably don't.
That's very wise.
Yes.
We're kind of like the upside down of politics observers.
Is that a Stranger Things reference?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't watch it.
That's okay. Well, you listen, knew the reference.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Pete's going to be very sad that you don't endorse his explanations. But let's talk 2022 stuff.
Yes.
Okay. So just let's just jump in with any random things. Give me no thread here. Just random stuff before we move on to just away from 2022.
Okay.
Do you have anything off the top of your head?
No.
Okay. Well, I'll start, and then you can jump in if you do.
Okay.
There's a lot of races closing up that we haven't mentioned at all, which
Yep.
I should mention.
Okay.
Firstly, Mike Lee is now only 3 or 4 points up on Evan McMullen.
Oh, yes. Yeah, this will be an interesting one.
And Mitt Romney continues to not endorse Mike Lee.
Yeah.
Which is really annoying him.
Nor should he.
And, in Washington, Patty Murray's been around forever.
Yes.
And is only a few points up on her Republican challenger.
Yep.
A lady called Tiffany Smiley, who is, I think she's a moderate. And she's really running the line. It's good to have a change when the person who's been there has done nothing for 30 years.
Yes.
Which I feel is an
Yeah.
effective line on Patty Murray.
Yes, yeah.
But, in Oregon, the Republican in the governor's race is in the lead. It's in the lead. Now, don't draw too much out of that because it's a three-way contest.
Yes, yeah.
And there's like an ex-Democrat who is siphoning off a lot of votes from the Democrat. But I think the Republican's going to win that.
Yeah.
As far as the governorship
Does that
goes.
go to runoff or is it just first past the post?
I think it's first past the post.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That was the office that Nick Kristof wanted to run for.
Oh, yeah.
The New York Times
yeah.
columnist who owns a winery in Oregon.
Oh.
And I think is from there originally.
It could have been him
And
siphoning
claimed
votes
to
from
understand the problems of people in Oregon. And he's very big on the problems of substance abuse.
Yeah.
And some journalist asked him, do you see any conflict here between going out and preaching about the problems of substance abuse while you are literally selling wine to people?
What did he say to that?
And he said, well, I don't know anyone who's a Pinot Noir addict.
He obviously doesn't sell very good Pinot Noir.
Yeah. So, no, he just turned out to be a little bit too pompous for the role.
You probably like that Buttigieg explanation from before. Also, the New York governor's race is getting extremely close.
Yes.
It's being kind of driven by... Lee Zeldin is essentially, the Republican, essentially running a campaign of being attacked by criminals. Like, being personally attacked by criminals. It's happened twice now during this campaign, and he's running a crime campaign. So it's worked out quite well for him. Also, Kathy Hochul seems to be not very good.
Yeah.
And that's getting real close, that one. So we'll see where that goes as well. Finally, the Oklahoma governor, the Republican, is in real danger of losing as well.
Yeah.
There are two issues there. Abortion is one of them, but another one is corruption.
Yes, yeah.
So that's getting close.
It is worth noting, by the way, for the peppers who are not so familiar with state politics, you regularly get states which you might regard as deep red or deep blue having governors from the other side. So current governor of Louisiana is a Democrat.
Yeah.
The governor of Louisiana is usually a Democrat.
Yeah, Kansas.
Kansas is a Democrat.
Yeah.
Massachusetts routinely has Republican governors. Vermont routinely has Republican governors. So it's not that unusual to actually have a governor from the other side.
Yeah. To Pennsylvania, the Femin campaign finally released some new medical info.
Wasn't it just another doctor's letter, though?
It was. That's the good news was they released something. The bad news was just another letter saying, "Oh, he's cool." It's his primary care doctor who also happens to be a heavy donor to his campaign.
Right.
Look, it's better than nothing. But I'd prefer more.
Yeah.
I'd prefer more.
I was just thinking of some of the special consideration applications that I've received
Over
the years. I think I'm not sure about this doctor's letter, but okay, yeah.
Did you get special consideration applications reminiscent of what's his name, Harold Bornstein, the Trump doctor?
Oh yes, yeah.
Saying that this is the greatest student in the history of university.
Yeah, the single fittest specimen I've ever seen.
Anyway, he has released something. Probably the greater test is going to be the debate, which is on Tuesday. So you might want to watch that one. That's going to be really interesting, I think.
Yep.
On what you were saying before about, do you think he should lean into it?
Yes, yeah.
I was having a bit of a read around about strokes and disabilities and so forth in government.
Yeah.
And there was a study in 2019 by Rutgers about this.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I should say, according to CDC, 26% of American adults have a disability of some kind.
Yep.
According to this Rutgers study from 2019, about 6% of elected officials have a disability.
Right.
Federally.
Yep.
Locally, about 12%.
Okay.
And so that it's not a bad strategy, I think. To actually run the line. You know, I'm here to represent disabled people.
Yes.
I have a disability.
Yeah.
Stop dissing it.
Yeah.
Stop dissing my ability.
That's right.
But I do think that his wife accusing the journalist who interviewed him, who said that he had trouble understanding the questions she asked him beforehand, before they turned on the computer, accusing her of being ableist. I thought that was a bit of a stretch. Like, she was literally just relating what she'd experienced. But yeah, you can lean into it without going quite that far. Interestingly, Biden's only scheduled engagement for this entire week is appearing for Fetterman.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that's the only thing for the whole week. I don't know who's supposed to look better out of that in comparison.
Yeah.
But they're together there. I don't know quite what's going on with Biden. I don't know if that just is a sign.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a headline yesterday, I think it was in the New York Times, like, Biden hasn't been doing any rallies.
Yeah.
Like, the last New York Times poll had him at 39%. Why would he be doing rallies under those circumstances when he actually wants Democrats to win?
Yeah. Well, there you go. The biggest problem for Fetterman this week, though, has been involving fracking and flip-flopping.
Right.
I'll tell you back quickly. He's decided that he's fracking's biggest supporter at the moment. He says, I support fracking, and I've always supported fracking as long as it's done environmentally sound and making sure that we're not contaminating our waterways, he says. And the Republicans just immediately pulled out a grab from 2018, him saying, I don't support fracking at all, and I never have. So they're running a lot of attack ads based on this. And now Fetterman's spokesperson said that he changed his mind when Pennsylvania instituted stronger environmental rules to protect public health.
Right.
That's why he changed his mind.
Okay.
But they did that in 2016, and the quote was from 2018 when he never supported fracking. So anyway, now I'm not saying that's going to change everything, but I do think that flip-flopping is more damaging for him than for others, because his whole shtick is that he's authentic and says what he thinks.
Yes.
You know, so I think that's slightly it's more damaging than, say, if you caught Herschel Walker flip-flopping, say.
Right. Yes.
Right. That's the line of attack this particular week, and the constant crime stuff.
Yeah.
The 538 margin is 2.5 points at the moment, forecast margin, so it's getting closer.
Yeah.
Georgia, do you have anything to add on Pennsylvania?
No.
Okay, Georgia, Herschel Walker. I actually think he did kind of well in his debate for him.
I did not watch the
I watched it.
Yeah.
I don't want to oversell this. Because he was still, he wasn't Abraham Lincoln, okay? He was not good.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, debates are always judged compared to expectations.
Yes.
And I will say this, he was coherent throughout.
Right.
There was none of his blubbering incoherence that you see in so many of his interviews that I've been forced to watch.
Okay.
but he was coherent throughout. But he was basically as good as a really bad speaker can be. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
There was one genuinely decent exchange which got sent around amongst Republicans. You could tell it was the one genuinely decent exchange, because that's the only one they sent around.
Yeah.
I'll play it to you now.
Do you believe there should be any limitations on abortion set by the government? And you have 60 seconds.
I think that the women of this country and the women of this state woke up one summer morning, and a core protection that they've known for 50 years was taken from them by an extremist Supreme Court. And I stand where I've said I stand in the past, that a patient's room is too narrow and small and cramped a space for a woman, her doctor, and the United States government. We are witnessing right now what happens when politicians, most of them men, pile into patients' rooms. You get what you're seeing right now. And the women of Georgia deserves a senator who will stand with them. I trust women more than I trust politicians.
May I respond?
Very quickly, Mr. Walker.
You know, it is. And I heard about him. I heard he was a neat talker, but did he not mention that there's a baby in that room as well? And also, did he not mention that he asking the taxpayer to pay for it? So he's bringing the government back into the room.
So that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. Like he was making sense. He wasn't smooth by any stretch of the imagination, but like it was in the realm. Like there were at times when he was in the realm of a normal debate, and that is a big win for Herschel Walker, as far as I'm concerned, compared to expectations.
Establishing normality.
Yeah. So there was a bit of there was a lot of I don't really know what to say. So I'm just going to say you voted 96% of the time with Joe Biden. There was a bit of that, but look, I think that there was a strange brandishing of a fake honorary badge for the police at one point in time. Like Warnock accused him of impersonating a police officer.
Yeah.
And he actually whipped out the badge for reasons
that
I don't
used
understand.
to impersonate a police officer.
Yeah, I don't know what he was playing out there, but obviously his campaign thought it was a winning move because they then made 1,000 copies of those badges and handed them out to his supporters. Jesus. So it was a bit weird. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of. Yeah, I don't know what was going on. It's like Fenderman handing out strokes.
Yeah, no,
It's weird.
Wanting to be the police is very popular
I guess.
in the MAGA crowd.
Anyway, have you heard about his Cherokee thing?
No.
This is a bit weirdness. This has got nothing to do with the debate. Back in May, Walker said he found out a year and a half ago that he said he's proud to be black, but I may not be black because he just learned that his mother is part Native American. He said.
Right.
Then in June, he said he learned that from a DNA test. Then in September, he says, grandmother was, quote, full-blood Cherokee. My mum just told me, so I'm Native American. I was like, oh, hello. He also said, I don't know what I am, but this was so funny. This is so funny. I said, Mum, why you never said anything to us? She said, back in my days, a lot of the Native Americans were treated worse than blacks. This month, Herschel Walker's mother has said that she has no idea if an immediate ancestor was full-blooded Cherokee. She said she grew up hearing stories about her father's mother being kin to the tribe, clarifying that her grandmother was believed to be related in some way to the Cherokee peoples, but she didn't know how.
By the way, a lot of Americans have very similar stories to that.
Yeah.
That's Elizabeth Warren's.
I was just going to say, like, this is not a big issue. No one really cares, but it just highlights to me that just another level of hypocrisy that the Republicans did not let Elizabeth Warren forget about that. And that is identical to Elizabeth Warren's story, down to the DNA test.
Yeah.
That is, that just, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I just thought I'd just flag it. What does matter is Warnock is having some problems with, I think, a more serious issue, which is his church has been evicting people for not paying rent. And he doesn't, it's not like he controls the church. That's not the line he's running.
No.
The line he's running is they are not evicting people.
Right.
He's denying it. Now, the Washington Free Beacon, conservative publication, were the ones who first reported this, that his church had sued to evict 12 families from poor housing that they owed for not paying rent. They highlighted a tweet from Warnock in August 2020. Unemployment benefits have expired, rents due today, and many Georgia families are at risk of eviction in the middle of a pandemic. My opponents are supposed to be serving the people in Washington, but they're clearly only concerned with serving their own interests. 3 weeks after that tweet, the church filed a lawsuit to evict someone who owed $28.55 of missed rent. And so that was the original story. At the debate, Herschel Walker, like a smart ass, offered to pay the $4,900 rent to the victor.
He's well known for paying for social services.
Yes, that's true.
For people.
It's a real strength.
And in fact, that line where he says, oh, you're asking the taxpayer to pay for it. Yeah, the taxpayer shouldn't pay for it. Herschel Walker should pay for it.
You should have been there to zing him.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Warnock replied at the debate with, quote, there have been no evictions, full stop. There's one more example of Herschel Walker and his allies lying, trying to sully the name of Dr. King's church, John Lewis's church, for short-term political gain. But then the Fulton County records came out. Number one, marshals carried out 2 court-ordered evictions on residents at the property, one in August 2020 and the other in February 2022. And 2 days before the debate, the church filed more eviction proceedings for 3 more tenants, one of them owing $115 in rent. So this is growing, and the biggest issue at the moment is Warnock lying, because now there's proof. So
maybe he didn't know.
Maybe it's possible. So anyway, but that is becoming more of an issue, because once again, when you put yourself forward as authentic, when that's undermined, it hurts you more than if you're a gibbering fool. Hypothetically speaking. Yes. So anyway, that's an interesting
Now,
area.
wasn't there a second debate?
Well, theoretically, that was the second debate, but
Yes.
Walker didn't turn up to it. So it was a debate between Warnock, I think a libertarian, some third person, and an empty podium.
Yeah.
And I believe Warnock really got off some good lines on the empty podium.
Why didn't Walker turn up?
I don't know. I guess he thought, like I did, that he did surprisingly well in the first debate.
Didn't want to jeopardize it.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
Once you've done one debate, I think attacks on you saying, "Oh, you're too cowardly to come out and debate." I don't think they bounce off you a little bit. So I think he could afford to.
I think there should only be one debate anyway.
There you go, Dave Smith for empty podiums. Vote one empty podium. And the other thing I'll say about Georgia is the first day voting happened, and it was 123,000 votes on the first day, which compares to 70,000 in 2018.
Yes.
And compares to 136,000 in 2020. So almost as many as 2020.
Yeah.
Which is huge, a presidential election.
Hang on. Oh, so that's first day of the presidential election, not the first day of the double runoff.
No, first day of the presidential
Right,
election.
yeah.
That's really huge.
Yeah.
So it suggests this is going to be a very big turnout.
Yes.
We'll see about that. Florida, I want to just say something quickly about, which is, I don't want to go into details because every campaign's kind of obvious what's going on there in Florida.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that Casey DeSantis is becoming a bit of a player in Florida. Like the number one, like Ron DeSantis is trying out more and more to humanize him.
Yeah.
She was front and center during the hurricane recovery, where she was spearheading some aid, so trying to get donations. She's in a lot of his ads at the moment as well, and in particular, there's one ad which is getting a lot of play at the moment, and I thought to myself, she's a pretty good performer. And I think she actually does her job pretty well. If he does become the presidential nominee, which we will see, I suspect she will play a very large role in humanizing him to the national electorate. I'll just play the ad so you can see what I'm talking about. I think she's definitely got something.
I get asked all the time, who is Ron DeSantis? Well, he's the kid who grew up right here in Florida, working his tail off, paying his own way through school, then volunteering to serve in the Navy and deploying to Iraq. He's the man who I fell in love with from the moment we met. And he's the dad of 3 very rambunctious, energetic children. Mamie, our 2-year-old little comedian, Madison, our beautiful, sweet 5-year-old, and Mason, our 4-year-old athlete. But if you want to know who Ron DeSantis really is, when I was diagnosed with cancer and I was facing the battle for my life, he was the dad who took care of my children when I couldn't. He was there to pick me off of the ground when I literally could not stand. He was there to fight for me when I didn't have the strength to fight for myself. That is who Ron DeSantis is.
I think you're just very easily impressed.
First Buttigieg.
Buttigieg. Then
I think
then Herschel Walker managing to complete a sentence in a debate. And now this.
This is going to the description. Chaz is very easily impressed. Yeah. You don't think that's a good bio ad? I think that's one of the better bio ads I've ever seen. I think it's a really good bio ad.
It's TV production.
Yeah.
Right, you know all about how TV production works.
Well, I precisely because I know how TV production works, I know that people trying to act emotional usually look shit.
Okay,
that's what I know.
I didn't think that sounded very good.
Okay,
myself, but maybe
fair enough. We can all judge for ourselves. Yeah. And I want to play one more thing before we move off 2022.
Yeah.
And that is, to see if you're impressed with this. This is, now you might have heard about Joe O'Dea in Colorado. He's a super moderate Republican.
Yeah.
Moderate to the point where he's disavowed Trump. Asked about Trump 2024, he said, quote, "I don't want to see Trump run again. I don't want to see Joe Biden run again. I think that tears our country apart." And then Trump responded with a truth. There's this rhino character in the great state of Colorado, Joe O'Dea, that's running against the incumbent Democrat for the United States Senate, who is having a good old time saying he wants to distance himself from President Trump, talking about himself in the third person, and other slightly nasty things. He should look at the economy, inflation, energy independence, defeating ISIS.
Defeating ISIS?
I think we've done that.
What year is this?
The strongest ever border, great trade deals, and much more before he speaks. MAGA doesn't vote for stupid people with big mouths, he says. Now, Trump defenders have said, well, what do you expect? O'Day started it, etc. By contrast, I would like to play you a clip of Nancy Pelosi reacting to Elisa Slotkin saying very similar things about Pelosi.
Right.
That everyone needs to move on from old people in power. This is how Nancy Pelosi reacted.
So let's talk about what Elisa Slotkin said on Meet the Press. I want to play that for you.
I have been very vocal, including with my own leadership in the House, that we need a new generation. We need new blood, period, across the Democratic Party, in the House, the Senate, and the White House. I think that the country has been saying that.
So what do you say to your own caucus, to these young members? They're, obviously in tough fights, but they want to see the change.
I say just win, baby. Just win. If that's what you have to say to win, fine. And we will not in any way do anything but totally supportive, mobilization-wise, message-wise, money-wise.
Now, that's how a professional deals with
yes.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just win. Just whatever you need to say.
Yes.
It's funny because that clip, you would notice that when I play clips, I tend to play them long because I like to play the full context. You see how that one's clipped out? The reason that was clipped out was because I got that from a conservative who clipped it out to attack Nancy Pelosi, to say, oh, look at her. For her, winning is everything. She doesn't care about truth. She doesn't care about any authenticity. She just cares about winning. That's all. Classic Pelosi. And you just go, well, you don't even realize that this is a complete indictment of your hero.
Yes.
It's just gone over your head completely. That's not about ego. It's about pragmatism.
Now, what is the state of the race in Colorado?
Joe O'Day, he got close-ish before, but I think he's slipping away.
Yeah, I seem to remember he was he was making it surprisingly close, but it's been a long time since.
Not so much now.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to get there.
Yeah. Given that I vowed never to obsessively follow polls again, I'm not keeping track of these things.
That's enough 2022. I've got lots about crime, but I'll save it Planet America because I've got some ads I want to play you guys, which are quite funny. And
okay.
And I'll give you a little tease. They involve Steve Miller.
Oh wow.
He's got a little group, and they're very Steve Millerish. Let's just put it that way.
There you go.
But while I was putting that package together for Planet America, I did see some interesting stats.
Oh.
Almost nuggety, if you will.
Yes. Yep.
Stats nugget. Yeah. These aren't just numbers. These are stats.
Yeah.
Police per capita over time.
Yes.
Cities with populations of 500,000 or more had combined in the year 2000 3.31 police per 1,000 residents.
Right.
In the year 2016, it moved from 3.31 police per 1,000 to 2.8 police per 1,000. In 2018, it was 2.75 police per 1,000. In 2021, it was 2.54 police per 1,000. So that's a trend that's been going on for at least 20 years. Now, before people go, oh, defund the police, ABC News America examined the budgets of 109 cities and counties over the last 3 years.
Yes.
Out of those 109 cities and counties, 91 of them raised police funding by more than 2% over the last 3 years. 49 raised police funding by more than 10% over the last 3 years. Only 8 places cut funding by more than 2%. So funding is going up while police numbers are going down.
Yes.
I don't have an explanation for that, but that is what they are the stats. Despite that, the impact of defunding the police has been discussed more than 10,000 times on TV over the last 2 years. So, they're the stats. Do you have any thoughts on those stats?
Look, I think that could be compatible with changing practices in policing, which could actually be going in the wrong direction. I mean, there has been talk for a long time about, police no longer walk around. If they're patrolling, it's in a car, and those kinds of patrols are getting less common anyway. So, in other words, ordinary routine interaction between police and community has been declining for a long time, which is something that happens when you actually have fewer police personnel. So what else could that money actually be going on? basically more and more forms of surveillance that do not involve that kind of routine interaction. More and more, weaponry. All probably things that make the police more of an alien presence than they actually are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Dave, I've been rabbiting on for a little bit. I think it's time for some Dave Smith magic. And I know one of the topics that you want to weave a spell on is Kanye West. Sorry, Ye.
Yeah.
Tell us about Ye.
Well, yes. Now, he has been kicked off Twitter and Instagram for making anti-Semitic comments. And you can't really paint these comments as anything but
Definitely not.
anti-Semitic. So this was after a recorded dispute with Diddy where he accused Diddy of being controlled by Jews.
That's anti-Semitic?
Yeah, he then said he was going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people.
Yes. DEFCON, not DEFCON.
Yeah, DEFCON 3 on Jewish people because he believed that they were conspiring against him, right? Yeah. So there's no way to paint this as anything other than anti-Semitic.
I need to jump in there because you're wrong.
Okay.
There is a way to paint it as not anti-Semitic because I saw one person try.
Right.
Only one person.
Okay, yes.
And that person is Candace Owens, who had only days beforehand been traipsing around in a White Lives Matter t-shirt with Kanye on the fashion show.
Yeah.
She did her best to try and defend the DEFCON 3.
Right. What did she say?
She said, first of all, no one, if we're being honest,
yeah,
no one knows what that tweet meant. It was very confusing. What is DEFCON 3, she said. Who knows what that means? Maybe
could be something positive.
Maybe he was referring to DEFCON 3. We don't know. But if he was referring to DEFCON 3, even then, a truly honest person would admit that that's not an attack on Jews because DEFCON 3 is actually a defensive posture. That's the way they spin it.
Great.
That's the way she spins it.
That's amazing. Well, I mean,
even her boss, Ben Shapiro, was like, no, I want nothing to do with this.
I've read some commentary suggesting he's basically getting this stuff from her. I mean, this is Candace Owens who in 2018 famously said that Hitler could have been okay if he'd stuck to making his own country great again and hadn't started World War II. So, he may well actually be getting this stuff from her. Apparently, people close to him say he's been getting just more and more anti-Semitic, weirder for a long time. He's also, it was a few years ago, he said slavery was a choice. There's been whispers that he's becoming more and more admiring of Hitler and the Nazis. So, so this is one end of the problem. So Kanye West is now, he's trying to buy Gab, isn't he?
Parler.
Yeah. He's trying. So he's trying to buy a social media platform because he's been kicked off all of the rest of them.
Both him and them say he is going to, although the deal has not been.
Yeah, he's doing very. He did a long rambling interview with Chris Cuomo from the back of a moving car.
That is how cancelled he is.
Yes,
he now needs to speak to Chris Cuomo.
Yes,
so,
He
no other options.
He did an interview with Tucker Carlson as well. But so it is very easy to write off somebody like that, especially as he has sort of constantly written himself off as mentally ill and what have you. But I think that we have to contend with the fact that there is increasingly open anti-Semitism going on that side of politics. So the New York Times had a very good, very long article about Marjorie Taylor Greene the other day, noting that one of the reasons why she initially became something of a pariah early on was because people unearthed old social media posts of her claiming that California wildfires were started by a laser fired by the Rothschild family.
Yes.
This story pointed out she has never backed down from anything, right? She has not changed her views at all, but she has basically dragged the Republican mainstream to her.
I think it's fair to say that she's backed down on QAnon. Like she said that she was misled about QAnon. She was led to believe these QAnon things. But I mean, look, that's a pretty small concession.
Right.
She hasn't backed down an awful lot.
Yeah. Now, I mean, the thing is, it wasn't very long prior to that Iowa Senator, was he a senator? Steve King.
Steve King, he was a House member.
House member, yeah. Was actually effectively self-policed out of the party for saying he didn't see anything wrong with white nationalism. She was not.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's Exhibit A. Exhibit B is Doug Mastriano, gubernatorial candidate for Pennsylvania, who, as I mentioned last week, talked about Josh Shapiro going to a Jewish day school and about his kids going to the same day school and saying, well, you know, these people who go to these elite schools have disdain for people like us. They have disdain for us.
Yeah.
Now, that is very obviously coded anti-Semitic language. People might scream about, no, he's talking about people who go to elite private schools. I would love then to hear his opinion of Donald Trump, who went to a very elite private school and sent his children to elite private schools, or his view of Tucker Carlson, who also went to a very elite private school and begged Hunter Biden to help him get his own son into an elite private school. So we're not really talking about elite private schools here. This was a pretty obvious anti-Semitic dog whistle going on. And, Exhibit C is Trump himself, who was truthing over the weekend about his disappointment with American Jews, saying that they did not recognize everything that he had done for Israel. He was complaining that our wonderful evangelicals seemed to be a lot happier with what I was doing for Israel than Jews were. He's complained that he had much higher approval ratings among Jews in Israel than he did in the United States, citing 94% in Israel, which is a massive exaggeration, but it's true. He did have majority support in Israel, and 27% in the US. I was actually very, very surprised that he got that number correct. But yes, that was his level of support among Jewish Americans. So he was saying Jews need to get their act together before it's too late. They need to realize what they had in my support of Israel. Now, this goes back to a very long history of Trump essentially suggesting that American Jews are Israeli citizens who should be voting exclusively on Israeli issues. Right? He once addressed a gathering of Jewish Americans referring to Benjamin Netanyahu as your prime minister. Right. And Netanyahu himself came out over the weekend to defend Trump, saying he can't be anti-Semitic. You know, he's got a daughter who converted to Judaism. He's got a Jewish son-in-law. First of all, I just don't think that that's empirically true, that you can have members of a certain ethnicity in your family and not be prejudiced against that ethnicity.
Yep.
Not empirically true. The second thing is, though, Kushner himself is becoming part of the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that are rising on this side of politics. There's an increasing narrative of, Kushner was this figure who was undermining Trump in the White House. And I can't remember who it was. Might have been Mastriano suggested that Kushner was actually undermining Trump's Middle Eastern peace efforts because he was only negotiating it to make money, which sounds like a fairly classic anti-Semitic trope. So the fact that, the fact of Jared Kushner is itself becoming a part of these anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. But yeah, Trump's particular brand of pro-Israelism is entirely compatible with anti-Semitism, which is basically the idea that Israel is the Jewish homeland, therefore Jews anywhere around the world are loyal to Israel or should be loyal to Israel, not to their home countries.
But isn't Trump's view the direct opposite of what classic anti-Semitism is? Isn't classic anti-Semitism accusing them of dual loyalty, saying you actually are loyal to Israel, whereas what Trump's saying is you're not loyal to Israel and you should be. He's doing the opposite, isn't he?
Well, he is basically suggesting that Jews who aren't sufficiently loyal to Israel are not even aware of their own self-interest. So like a lot of Trump things, it's a weird angle on it. But it is basically that, that old thing of Jews are fundamentally loyal to themselves and not to and not to anybody else. It is entirely possible for someone to be pro-Israel and anti-Semitic.
I agree with that.
At the same at the same time. If you are adamant about the fact that all Jews should be loyal to Israel, then it's a very short step from that to, what are they doing in our country? So I think that we really are seeing this increasing anti-Semitism. I mean, there's also some fairly basic things which have alarmed American Jewish people about Trump from the beginning, or almost from the beginning. The Charlottesville Unite the Right rally, which Trump famously equivocated on. One of the slogans that was shouted at that was "Jews will not replace us." And Trump's sympathy for the far right only increased during his presidency, to the point where by the final months of his presidency, he's saying to the Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. So that sort of general pandering to the far right was obviously very alarming to Jewish voters. This was one of the reasons why the Jewish vote for Biden was higher than it had been for Obama.
I guess my take on this is I reckon that there are a lot of different kinds of anti-Semitism because it's been around for so long.
Oh, yes, yeah.
A lot of these are combining. Like, so for instance, take Kanye. Kanye, to me, is unambiguously anti-Semitic.
Yes.
But I think it's a Farrakhan-style anti-Semitism, right? Which is not the kind that you'd associate with, say, Mastriano or something like that. It's a like, he explicitly, right out the back, says black people are the real Jews.
Yes, yeah.
Like, that's just Farrakhan.
Yes.
I think that I don't know where he got it from, but there's no doubt he's got it. Yes, I think he's having a mental breakdown. I think he is being exploited, and I think that is another topic that we should talk about at some point in time, because Tucker Carlson cut out a whole bunch of grabs. Tucker Carlson spoke to him for like 2 hours.
Yes, yeah.
They put an hour and a half on air. He cut out a whole bunch of stuff of Kanye sounding insane, like saying literally, I got it down here, that fake children had been placed in his house to manipulate his actual children. I mean, like professional actors placed into my house to sexualize my kids. They cut that shit out. Like, he knew that Kanye West was clearly flipping out.
Yes,
and then they acted like he was some kind of conservative seer. So the exploitation of someone who is having a mental breakdown.
Yes,
I think that's a real issue. But I also think, quite aside from that, he's clearly anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
So that's one kind of anti-Semitism.
Yes, yeah.
Mastriano is the more classic kind of anti-Semitism that we're used to. No arguments there. I think there is definitely on the right, there is increasing internet kind of anti-Semitism, like your Nick Fuentes which is, I think, a genuine problem. Those people are genuinely, by any standards, anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
But then I think conflating it with Trump is wrong, in my view, because I don't think Trump is coming at from that. I don't think he has any ideology. I think we know what Trump is. Trump is anyone who's for me, I love, and anyone who's not, I hate. And he will say anti-Semitic things.
Yeah.
But not from a place of anti-Semitism, but from a place of narcissism. And you might go, well, what's the difference? I think the intention does matter. I really do. I think over time, over decades, that stuff can become jumbled up to the point where it doesn't matter. But I think at this point in time, I think there are clear differences between Kanye West, Mastriano, and the Trump kind. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is, I don't know what the hell she is. I don't know what's going with her.
Look, I think that there are, as you say, there are different kinds of anti-Semitism related to different pathologies, but I don't think it lessens what Trump is saying, the fact that you think it doesn't come from a place of anti-Semitism.
Well, the reason why I'm making that distinction is because I don't think it's fair to say that the Republican Party has been taken over by this, because they could not have run farther from Kanye West when he said that shit. Like Fox News, they were running away from him at an absolute rate of knots after that tweet came out.
That's just because there's no way of respectabilizing it.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, but just clearly they don't think. I mean, if they are anti-Semites, they are secret anti-Semites. They are trying to not be public about it at the very least. And I'm not talking about Kevin McCarthy here. I'm talking about the Fox News types. I'm talking about like your Will Cain and people like that. Yeah. Like people who have no problem saying unpopular, ironically populist things.
Okay, I think where I'm departing from you in this is you're thinking of people in terms of types, like anti-Semite or not anti-Semite, some sort of true believing person who. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a discourse that associates Jews with conspiratorial control.
Yep.
With national disloyalty. Now, people can engage in that discourse without having sincere hatred of Jews or without thinking about Jews very much,
Yep.
which is, probably what is going on with Trump. Nonetheless, the cumulative effects of that discourse being out there are very dangerous. So I'm certainly not accusing all Republicans of being Jew-hating anti-Semites. What I'm saying is there is an anti-Semitic discourse that is creeping in, that is often coming in on the back of other conspiracy theories. Every conspiracy theory eventually tends to lead to anti-Semitism at some point, and in some cases it's being quashed where it can't be considered respectable at all, but in other cases it is being tolerated.
Look, I think. Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say. I think I do agree. Sorry, if you finish.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah.
No, I was going to say. I think I do agree with that. I think I do. I was going to say the Marjorie Taylor Greene is actually a great example of that, because what's going on there is I don't think Kevin McCarthy is thinking to himself, "Oh, great, yeah, Jewish space lasers. That's a great idea. I endorse that." I don't think he's thinking that. I think what he's thinking is, we cannot drum her out of the party because she's bigger than me.
Yes.
And if I do, I will lose my job.
Yeah.
And I think that the acceptance of Marjorie Taylor Greene's weird Jewish conspiracy theories is not because they're Jewish. They're not because people love anti-Semitism. It's because she's more powerful for other reasons, and anti-Semitism isn't enough to disqualify her.
Yeah.
And I think that increasingly as time goes on, the price you pay for your crazy anti-Semitic conspiracy theories is becoming smaller in the Republican Party.
Exactly, yes.
And I think that is an issue.
Yeah. And so I just end this by saying it doesn't matter what's in your heart. It matters what comes out of your mouth.
Yeah, sure. Yes, okay. Okay, I don't think I want to say anything more about Ye.
No.
You want to say? I think I made my point about the mental thing, which is actually my biggest concern about him. That he's just being clearly exploited. Clearly.
Yes.
We've already brought him up. We need to talk about Kevin.
Yes.
We need to talk about Kevin, Dave. Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader. Before I said to you that there are some real indications that the Republicans are going to win the House, my number one indication is that Kevin McCarthy has just dropped his guard completely.
Yes, he has.
He's just
absolutely.
He's just now assuming they're winning, and he's just talking real loose.
Yes.
There's a few examples of this in the last couple of weeks. The first one, which I'd like to begin on, is the debt ceiling.
Yes.
That is, for those who don't know, we've talked about this a few times. America's projected to hit the debt ceiling towards the end of next year.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit the debt ceiling, that does not stop you owing money. It just stops you paying back your debts.
Exactly, yes.
And then when you don't pay back your debts, it questions the credit of the United States, and it leads to you defaulting on your debt. And then you've got tremendous economic problems. You need 50 votes in the Senate and the House to lift the debt ceiling. You cannot filibuster it. Okay,
Yep.
You only need 50 votes.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a situation where Kevin McCarthy, I'll just quote him, talking about the debt ceiling. You can't just continue down the path to keep spending and adding to the debt. And if people want to make a debt ceiling longer, I think it means to lift it, just like anything else, there comes a point in time where, okay, we'll provide you more money, but you've got to change your current behavior. We're not just going to keep lifting your credit card limit, right? And we should seriously sit together and figure out, where can we eliminate some waste? Where can we make the economy grow stronger? Now, that will be giving anyone who's been around American politics for more than 10 years, they'll be giving them a real sense of deja vu.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell them why, Dave? Or do you want me to keep on going?
You just keep
I'll just keep going. Okay. This is very reminiscent of 2011.
It is very reminiscent.
When just after the Tea Party came through and Republicans were threatening to not allow the Obama to raise the debt ceiling, and Obama negotiated with them. Well, at one point in time they were saying we're not going to lift the debt ceiling unless you get rid of Obamacare, and he said, no, we're not going to be doing that. But then they started negotiating about entitlement cuts and about budgetary savings, and there was a lot of penny pinching going on, and there's a fair argument to make that the recovery from the recession was was made much harder and much longer than it otherwise would be.
Absolutely, yes.
Because of the decisions that they made to convince the Republicans to vote to lift the debt ceiling. And then as soon as Trump got in, they immediately allowed him to lift the debt ceiling whenever they wanted. And there was a significantly greater amount of debt added to the national debt during Trump, before COVID, I'm talking about, before COVID. And there were no objections, so they just completely ignored it. And now all of a sudden they're going back to 2011 again. And it will, of course, cripple. It's a situation which cripples the Democratic presidency because you have two choices. Either you basically destroy your own economy through the negotiations with the Republicans, or you allow them to default on your debt, which will be even worse.
Yes.
So it's very much holding a gun to their heads. Now, the thing is, I should say as well, we know what's going to happen because the Republican Study Committee have already handed down their plan, which hasn't got much attention. It was back in June. But they said in their plan that they want to gradually raise the Medicare age of eligibility to 67, the Social Security eligibility to 70, before indexing both the life expectancy. For those who don't know, that sounds great because you go, oh yeah, that's fair enough. Life expectancy is going up. You expect this to go up. That is the number one way to hurt poor people.
Yes, absolutely.
Because most rich people, they're not retiring at 65.
No.
They keep on going.
Yes.
And they're not the ones who are living on Medicare and Social Security
That's
anyway.
right. Yeah.
But poor people, they die at the age of 67 or 68. Like they have much lower life expectancies than rich people do. And so rather than them having a 4 or 5 year retirement, they have a 1 or 2 year retirement. So it really screws them over. They also, in that study plan, said that they backed withholding payments to those who retired early.
Yep.
Once again, that's going to affect poor people, and had earnings over a certain limit. That's going to affect rich people. That's okay. And it wanted to reduce payroll taxes that fund Social Security and redirect them to private alternatives. That is code for privatized Social Security, which is, of course, is something the Republicans have been trying to do for a long time. Once again, in theory, it sounds reasonable. You say, okay, you get higher returns on the stock market, the private stock market, than you do from Social Security. That is true, but America, we have seen firsthand in 2008, when they have a crash, they really have a crash.
Yes.
And the poor people are not going to get those savings back once they're gone.
Absolutely not.
So once again, the rich people can afford that, the poor people cannot. So that is a dangerous risk to take, even if you're into the private sector.
Yeah.
And reducing payroll taxes obviously is not good for the budget as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's
I
all.
am a bit surprised given how politically the debt ceiling crises worked out for the Republicans.
Which was terribly.
Terribly. I am actually surprised that they're trotting that out again as a tactic. Like, I mean, there's been significant changeover in the Republican Party since that time, but I can't believe that there isn't some kind of institutional memory there.
Well, also, it's completely against the sort of the new sort of populist nationalist thing.
It really is,
where
yes.
They're all very
yeah.
pro-entitlement. So it's weird.
Yeah. Like, no, how about we go Liz Truss?
Yeah. It's very, very strange.
Yes.
And obviously hugely irresponsible. But the reason I bring this up as well is I do have more to say about that than that? Or just,
not this issue. We've still got a lot more to say about it.
We do. The other thing I'd say is that the Democrats can stop this at any point in time. Only needs 50 votes. And now maybe they're waiting till, they have to be waiting until after the election.
Yes.
But if Manchin or Sinema gets in the way of lifting the debt ceiling, that I'm going to personally travel over to America and cream pie them because that is going to there's got nothing to do with partisanship. That is going to destroy America if they go through one of these fights. If they actually default on the debt, that will be disastrous, and they can totally avoid that. All they need to do is just lift the debt ceiling now with their 50 votes in the Senate to enough to last 2 or 3 years till the inevitable Republican president takes over. And then they can deal with it. Then they can go back to Trump rules.
Yes.
Or they can just get rid of the debt ceiling, which shouldn't exist anyway. It only exists in one other country. I think it might be Denmark. There's no other country in the world that has it. Just get rid of it. Just go, here's $100 trillion onto the debt or just whatever. You can get rid of it any time.
Yeah.
So there are a million things they need to do after
Yes.
after the election. I've got a whole section which I've been putting off in this podcast to talk about it. But this is the number one thing they have to do. If they do nothing else, they have to lift the debt ceiling.
Yes.
For Christ's sake. Okay.
Can I just say, before we go on about Kevin, do you remember the book Young Guns, A New Generation of Conservative Leaders?
I do. They had Paul Ryan on the cover.
Paul Ryan?
Eric Cantor.
Eric Cantor, yes.
And Kevin McCarthy. He's the last remaining young gun.
Yeah, Eric Cantor. Yeah, because Eric Cantor got primaried.
Yes.
Yeah, by a guy called Dave Bratt in 2012. And yeah, Paul Ryan, well, we all know what happened to Paul Ryan.
We do.
Yeah. So Kevin McCarthy, last young gun
Now
left
just a
standing.
gun.
I've got to say, I'm looking at this cover now.
Yeah.
He had grey hair in this cover.
He's kind of the Steve Martin of politics, isn't he? No, how old he is. He's
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also kind of, Paul Ryan looks like he knows what's going on in this photo, but the other two look like they're not entirely sure about this. We'll show this on the screen.
Yeah, we will.
They kind of look a little bit like, why are we standing next to Paul
especially Eric
Ryan?
Cantor. He's squinting, he's confused.
Yes, well, he didn't have long to go by that point.
What kind of young gun has grey hair? That's
By the way,
great point you made.
Yeah, this is not on Dr. Dave's book list. Do not read Young Guns. Okay? Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk about Ukraine first, or do you want to talk about what you want to talk about with Kevin McCarthy?
Look, Kevin McCarthy is... I mean, there's always been sort of threats of retaliation going on with investigations and subpoenas, what have you. He famously said to Merrick Garland, preserve your calendar. But so he's now said they will kick Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff off the...
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all
off
right.
the Intelligence Committee and Ilan Omar off Foreign Affairs.
That was going to happen as soon as they kicked off Marjorie Taylor Greene. That was always going to happen.
Yeah. So Marjorie Taylor Greene was kicked off for not just the insane anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, although that was a big thing, but a whole lot of stuff. Around, sort of loudly refusing to recognize the 2020 election results, harassment of Democrats, like constantly following AOC around with a camera saying, debate me. Just really actually just bad behavior in Congress. Now, they want to get rid of Swalwell and Schiff, just because of the fact that they're high-ranking Democrats on the Intelligence Committee, essentially, and because Trump came up with nicknames for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, look, I mean, Swalwell gets into slanging fights with Republicans.
Yeah.
Schiff does not. Schiff's done nothing but just be an annoyance during the first impeachment.
Yeah.
Like to Republicans I'm talking about.
Yes.
So
and Trump called him Shifty Schiff.
Yeah, it's not like... It's,
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose they might say that he kept on saying that he had evidence of there was secret evidence of Russian collusion that never eventuated. But I mean, that's not a sackable offense. That's just business as usual for a politician you might hate.
Yes.
Yeah, like it's all...
Yeah. And Ilan Omar, that's just pure ideological opposition.
Yeah.
So anyway, so those we're going to see that.
Yes. Oh, we'll definitely see that.
Yes.
We'll see plenty of impeachments and we'll see plenty of expulsions.
Yeah,
No
and the
doubt
other thing
about
is the reason why Democrats stripped Marjorie Taylor Greene of committee assignments was because Republicans would take no action against her. And this was at the time when Republicans were still actually complaining about her. Right. There were still Republicans saying this is completely beyond the pale. Kevin McCarthy had actually said publicly, I'm going to have to sit Marjorie Taylor Greene down and tell her that she can't call Nancy Pelosi a bitch. So this was at the time where Republicans were making noises about policing Marjorie Taylor Greene, but never actually doing anything.
Well, some Republicans were, but he just didn't have the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he might have just had 50%. Just.
Yeah.
But it would have divided the party, and within weeks he wouldn't have had the numbers even if he did then.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those. I actually feel a bit sorry. I won't say I feel sorry, but I think Kevin McCarthy's on the hiding to nothing when it comes to those people.
I do not feel sorry for him.
Like I said, I did take that back before I even said it.
Yeah.
But I don't think any human being could deal with the situation he's dealing with.
Do you think he will actually get elected as Speaker?
I do.
Yeah.
I do think he'll get elected Speaker, but I'm not sure for very long. Yeah. I mean, it's...
I think that's the most likely outcome. I think there's also some possibility that Trump will intervene and, try to get somebody else.
Well, it's possible. It's certainly
elevated.
I think Trump. Remember with Trump, I don't think he cares so much about what necessarily happens so much as just opportunities to talk about what should happen he's all about the sale more than anything else. And so I find it difficult to believe he'll get too worked up. As long as there's lots of investigations going on and lots of impeachment hearings, I think he'll be happy. Even if they achieve nothing, I don't think he'll care. Personally.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But I also think there's going to be a move on to try and campaign to be his vice president as well, assuming he's running again.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that this Times article about Marjorie Taylor Greene mentioned was that Trump has supposedly said he wants Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I bet he said that to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Can I make a prediction right now, by the way?
Yeah.
If she wins, Carrie Lake will be the vice president. Or the vice presidential nominee. That if she wins.
Yes.
That's my
well, you've been long on Carrie Lake for a long time.
Yeah. She's the one that I think is the actual inheritor of Trumpism.
Right. Not Ron DeSantis.
No. I'm not saying Ron DeSantis won't be president.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's completely different to the Trumpists. As much as he tries to pretend he's the same.
Right.
I think he's
even
completely
trying
different.
to dress the same.
Yeah, I think and stands the same posture.
Yes.
I think he's completely different. I think he's actually a standard politician who's trying to win votes.
Yeah.
I think that Carrie Lake is actually a Trumpist. And I think that
okay.
I think that she if she wins, it's a really big election. that Arizona governor's race.
Yeah,
anyway. Let me just mention the Ukraine thing with Kevin McCarthy first as well. And then, because you're getting into Marjorie Taylor Greene there, so you might as well just keep on talking about that because you wanted to talk about that article, yeah? Or have you already done that?
Well, I think we've said enough about what's in the article.
I'm happy to. Yeah. I'll put the article in the homework, by the way. It's quite a long and interesting article.
Yep.
So you can go and have a look there. It's probably paywalled. Is it paywalled?
Yeah, probably is. Sorry.
Go invisible. You can read them when you're invisible on Google. The other thing that Kevin McCarthy said, which was interesting, was on Ukraine. Quote, I think people are going to be sitting in a recession and they're not going to write a blank check to Ukraine. They just won't do it. It's not a free blank check. And then there's the things the Biden administration is not doing domestically, not doing the border, and people begin to weigh that. Ukraine is important, but at the same time, it can't be the only thing they do, and it can't be a blank check. Now, he's wavering rather than going right across, but to me, that's a real sign. I know I've been talking about this a bit. I really think that Republicans are going to, if they win the Congress, are going to maybe not completely defund the war.
I think we'd be looking at a reduction rather than a complete. But
I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on Ukraine to negotiate with Putin. I think that's why things coming. But because he's not alone, it's not just him. I've been watching this. Trump Jr. Tweeted out after the hurricane.
Yeah.
What tiny fraction, if any, of the almost $75 billion has been sent to the Ukraine in the last few months will go to help the hundreds of thousands of American taxpayers in Florida, many of whom lost everything over the last few days? Matt Gaetz did a similar kind of tweet. Ruben Gallego he's a Democrat, said to Politico, quote, I've talked to a couple of Republican members that have voted for pro-Ukraine legislation in the past. They have town halls now where they come and get yelled at using Tucker Carlson talking points. And of course, at some point, they're going to have to deal with primaries.
Yes, yeah.
So and I think, which was the first reason I brought it up in the first place was because of Tucker Carlson. I genuinely think he is the second most important thought leader in the Republican Party
absolutely
behind Trump at the moment. He really is. And
he's made it very clear who he wants to win.
That's right. So that's why I keep on talking about him all the time because I think he's actually incredibly important.
Yeah, he is.
I probably should talk about him more. But anyway, so do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that one is hard to predict, partly because support for Ukraine has been broadly popular up until this point.
Even amongst Republicans, I should say, I should give you a poll. SSRS, 60% overall said they were prepared to pay higher energy costs for Ukraine.
Yeah.
80% Democrats, 48% Republicans said that. And 57% respondents said they were prepared to accept rising prices as the United States helps Ukraine. 74% Democrats, 44% Republicans.
Yeah. The other thing is the US hasn't been writing blank checks to Ukraine. If anything, Ukraine has been complaining that they're not getting stuff quickly enough because there's actually quite an onerous oversight process around getting weapons and getting systems to Ukraine. So, you know, it hasn't been a sort of blank check process. Another thing is the war is entering a different phase at this point. So there's been a lot of news this week about the Russian use of Iranian kamikaze drones in civilian areas. And they've really ramped up this kind of Russian extremist view that the way to fight this war is just by terrorizing civilians as much as possible, although that does not seem to have the effect of weakening any Ukrainian resolve. So Ukrainians are demanding sort of more advanced air systems, air defense systems from the US and Europe, because when Russia, as I understand it from what I've read, when Russia was using its own missiles, that was a very expensive exercise for Russia, which we talked about on the podcast. Whereas using these Iranian drones is a far cheaper way of terrorizing.
Apparently, last week, a third of Ukraine's power stations have been driven offline by Iranian drones.
Yes,
so they're attacking power stations. And depending on who you believe, some Russian military types on Russian TV have said the tactic is to make them freeze.
Yeah,
that's how he wins.
But I don't think that's a path to victory. I can understand why they're doing it, but this doesn't look. This is just pissing people off more. It's not forcing them into submission. I mean, by this point, given the number of people who have died in this war, this stuff is it's reminding people of what they've already lost, and I don't think Ukraine's going to give up just because of this stuff.
Oh, I don't think so either.
Yeah,
I don't think so either. It's I agree with you about it's far from a blank check.
Yeah.
Just a couple of quick things on actually one major thing with Ukraine before we move off this. Putin on, I think it was last week, said that Moscow is ready to resume gas supplies to Europe through the pipeline. Now, I thought America blew it up, according to some. I thought America blew it up, so they can't have done a very good job of blowing up that pipeline. But it turns out there were 2 strings for each pipeline, each of the 2 lines, and only 3 of the 4 strings were blown up. So either the Americans are mega incompetent, or someone else blew it up that wanted to keep the pipeline still open.
Right.
Whoever that might be.
Oh, okay.
I'm starting to form an opinion on who I think it is. Before I was a bit more non-committal on that.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that Germany rejected Russia. They said, we don't want your gas anymore.
We don't want your gas, Russia.
A German spokesperson said Russia had stopped delivering gas through Nord Stream 1 for political reasons, and Germany sees no reason why deliveries through Nord Stream 2 would be any more reliable, which I think is true.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Nothing else on Ukraine or Kevin McCarthy?
No.
Stats Nugget! Woo! Overall, real wages have dropped 1.3% in the last year, Dave. But not uniformly.
Right.
I'll be interested to see if you have any explanations for this. I don't.
Okay.
White women have dropped 1.8%. Black women 2.1%. Hispanic women have been steady. Asian women down 8.7%. So they're all kind of around the same area apart from the Asian women. But here's where it gets weird. White men have dropped 3.1%. Hispanic men have risen 1.3%. Black men have risen 4.7%. Asian men have risen 8.1% in real wages. So for some reason, minority men have all had a rise in real wages, but everyone else, including white men, have had a drop in real wages. And in particular, Asian men have had this massive rise, but Asian women have had this massive drop. I have absolutely no idea what's going on there, but they are the figures.
Yeah, no, I've got no idea.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
No, I can't explain.
Yeah, okay. Maybe you can explain to me what's going on with Durham.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So this was Durham, it was 3.5 years ago.
Yep.
that he was appointed special prosecutor. What's his first name?
John.
John Durham
Yeah.
was appointed special prosecutor to investigate the origins of the Russian investigation.
Yes.
Now, if you've seen a picture of Durham, you would not forget him.
Usually with the word "soon" written underneath it. If you're on the internet.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yes, this investigation's been going on for 3.5 years. It resulted in precisely 2 indictments. Okay.
3.
3. What was the third?
The first one was Kleinsmith, the guy who he actually pled guilty.
Okay.
But that's okay. I can talk about him. You can talk about the other two.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I've forgotten about that. That was a long time ago.
It was a long time. It's been a long investigation.
Yeah. And one that held a lot of hope for Trump and his allies. And, there would always be these big developments like, whoa, it's turned into a criminal investigation now, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so, yeah.
The crime of the century.
The crime of the century.
According to Trump.
Okay, so 2 people were indicted and now they have both been acquitted. So the second one was acquitted this week.
Yep.
The Russian analyst who...
Danchenko.
Yeah, Igor. So I was trying to remember his Igor Danchenko.
Yeah.
Yes, who contributed to the information gathering effort.
For the Steele dossier we're talking about.
Yes, the Steele dossier. Yeah. He was very quickly acquitted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And the other acquittal happened very quickly as well.
Yes, that was even quicker. That was 5 hours.
Yes. Yeah. So
that was Sussman.
Yeah.
Amusingly named Sussman.
Yeah. So, it was on extremely shaky ground. Yeah. And this actually was what Trump has accused everybody else of doing, which is politicizing the Justice Department and, using the Justice Department as a weapon. Yeah. Now, I don't know where the Democrats could have shut Durham's investigation down, but they never tried to.
Why would you?
Yeah.
It wasn't doing any damage.
Exactly. So the Justice Department saw this as so innocuous that they just let it keep running. Yes. And anyway, it has now reached its absurd conclusion.
I'll go into a little bit more detail with a couple of these in case you're interested. Kleinsmith, the first guy I can sum up in about 3 seconds. Basically, he wrote a bit of information. He was an FBI guy who wrote a bit of information and put it into an application for a surveillance warrant of Carter Page.
Yes.
That he knew to be incorrect.
Yes.
That information. And then he pled guilty to that.
Yep.
Didn't even get jail time. Just got a slap on the wrist. Right.
Yep.
So that was Kleinsmith. That was way back when.
Yep.
I really did not like what he did. But I'm not into massive jail sentences. So whatever. Yeah. But at least he pled guilty. Sussman was the second one. He was the guy who tipped off the FBI about the Alpha Bank saga. If you recall, the bank that Trump was communicating with underground through secret communications, supposedly, and he wasn't. Durham charged him with lying to the FBI because he said that he came to the FBI only as a concerned citizen and not on behalf of any clients.
Right.
And then he billed the Hillary Clinton campaign for that meeting. They said he was an independent person, concerned citizen for. Sussman said that he had separately worked on Clinton's behalf.
Yes.
And especially when he was peddling the Alpha Bank tip to the press, which he did.
Yes.
And he admitted to it. He said, Sussman, that he never tried to hide his political ties from the FBI. And in fact, his political ties were well known to the FBI. So there was no deception.
Yep.
And the jury said, yep, you can't, you have not proven that that's not the case.
Yep.
So he's gone. 5 hours. Out. So the Danchenko, what he was charged with was lying to the FBI on five counts for the Steele dossier. He was I think it was called Subsource 1, whatever. But Durham had to convince jurors not only that he lied, but that his deception had a material impact on the FBI's investigation.
Yes.
So it was actually a bit of a high bar to meet. He didn't really try to meet that. He just spilled a lot of... he basically went on about the FBI for a while without accusing them of misbehaving.
Yes.
He just kept on saying things that sounded like they were misbehaving without explicitly accusing them. So you can tell he's not real happy with the FBI. Anyway, and to be fair, I'm not real happy with the FBI either, but I'm I'm not running Danchenko indictments. One of the charges, give you an example of a couple of the charges we're talking about. One charge was about Danchenko telling the FBI he'd received a call in July 2016 from an unidentified man who shared info about Trump. He said he thought that man was Sergei Milian, and they agreed to meet up in New York, but he never showed up. Now, Durham said Danchenko completely made up that story because he told Steele that Milian was the source of the peen story, the peen hookers.
Yes, yeah.
But that he actually just made it up. That's what Durham was saying.
Yes.
And so they had to prove that Danchenko had never spoken to Milian. They had to prove a negative, which is kind of hard to do.
Yes.
Especially given that Milian flew into New York the day before Danchenko said he was supposed to have met him. So they couldn't prove he'd never spoken to him. So that was that. Another charge, Danchenko said he never talked to public relations executive Charles Dolan about what became the Steele dossier. Charles Dolan's a bit of a boogeyman for Republicans on this one. But Dolan did send him an email with a claim about office politics in the Trump campaign that ended up in the dossier. So Durham said, look, he talked to him. It's in the dossier. And Danchenko's people said, well, no, he never spoke to him. That's an email. And the judge said, yeah, you're right. It's an email. Throw it out. So you can see Durham getting frustrated through this because there is lying happening.
Yes.
There is for people to say, oh, the FBI did absolutely nothing wrong and the Steele dossier was absolutely above board. No, there is deception going on from various people, but it just does not meet the provable standard that's necessary.
Yeah.
He should have known that.
Yes.
He ran the indictments anyway, which goes to what you were saying before about politicizing special counsels. And some would say that special counsels always end up like this. Like when you spend 3 years investigating something, you feel like you have to lay some charges.
Yes,
Otherwise, you look like you wasted everyone's money.
Yeah.
In this case, he has. So that's the detail.
But Trump and his allies were expecting that, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and everybody would be taken down by this.
I should say he's going to write a report. That's part of his remit, to write a final report.
Yeah.
And all the things that he was hinting at during the indictments, he's going to say in the report. Merrick Garland isn't going to decide whether it goes to the public.
Right.
So we'll see what he decides. Personally, if I was Merrick Garland, I would just publish it because number one, whatever. This is pretty old now. And also it's just like, if he's got some information, it's good to get it out there anyway. Yeah. I genuinely think the FBI have not done a good job with all this Russiagate stuff. Yeah. And it's good to get it out there. But also, it's going to be released when the next president takes over, for sure. Yes. So you might as well release it now. Yeah. Anyway, I got nothing else to say about that. Do you have anything else to say about that?
No.
What I will say is that the next investigations, I'll say this for another time, what the next investigations are going to be, because they're coming. We know they're coming. We've already talked about this. Hunter Biden's going to feature. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. But not just that. Look, we got about 10 minutes left, so I want to see. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of. Is there anything else that you want to get off your chest? I think we've covered all your topics. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Baseball.
Yeah? No.
Yeah.
Unless I can play a Michigan corner sting.
No.
Okay.
Not Michigan. No, we'll wait till the World Series is on before we really talk about it.
I promise you, Peppers,
baseball.
We will give you some baseball time during the World Series.
Yes.
I'll just do a couple of quick things. First of all, illegal immigration. There's an update on the DeSantis stunt. That's the Martha's Vineyard one.
Yep.
Sheriff Salazar of Bexar County certified that the migrants
I think it's actually pronounced Bear County.
Sorry, Bear County. Thank you. Certified that the migrants flown to Martha's Vineyard were the victims of a crime. That doesn't mean anyone's guilty, but just means that there is a crime which he is investigating, which requires witnesses.
Yep.
Based upon the claims of migrants being transported from Bear County under false pretenses, we're investigating this case as possible unlawful restraint. He said unlawful restraint includes force, intimidation, or deception, which is the key bit.
Yes.
That means if they're witnesses, they can apply for a U visa, which is for potential witnesses to a crime.
Yep.
The queue for U visas is 285,000 people long and 17 years waiting. That's how the immigration system works in America, which means once they join the queue, they're there for 17 years and they can freely work and live in America. So what DeSantis did then is done them all a favor, and they're all going to stay in America forever now. So they turned out great. Everyone's a winner.
Yes.
He gets his election issue, and they get to stay in America. The next thing is, this is actually quite a big deal, but I'm going to try and keep it short. Remember Toll 42? That's the one where they bounce people from America to Mexico when they come from Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras, using COVID as an excuse. Mm-hmm. They can't bounce anyone from anywhere else.
Yep.
Mayorkas just did a deal with Venezuela. And Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua are the three big ones that America have to keep at the moment.
Yes.
The people. Not anymore with Venezuela. He did a deal with Mexico. Mexico will accept Venezuelans now from Toll 42 bouncings on one condition. America has to take one person on humanitarian parole for every one person that they bounce.
Right.
So Mayorkas has now said that they're going to take a maximum of 24,000 Venezuelan asylum seekers.
Yeah.
But not at the border. If you get to the border, you're being bounced under Toll 42. If you apply the consulate and organise a sponsor, which is what the Ukrainians are doing at the moment,
Yeah.
you get to come to America and apply for asylum.
Yeah.
So it's kind of and America will fly you in from the airport.
Yeah.
So to me, that's actually, the gambling is not going to be more than 24,000 of these.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think there will be. I think it will stop once there's another way to get in.
Yeah.
We'll find out. I think it's a great idea. Personally, it accords with a lot of things I've been talking about for a while,
Yes,
which is allows legitimate asylum seekers to get in.
Yeah.
But it discourages unlimited people rushing the border, which is, I think, nothing that anyone likes. So we'll see if it works. Who knows?
But Marjorie Taylor Greene has said that she will impeach Mayorkas.
She's filed 5 impeachment proceedings already.
Yes.
So everyone's getting impeached under Marjorie Taylor Greene. And if that works, they can strike up a deal with Mexico to accept bouncings from other places, hopefully. We'll see. This might be the beginning of actually getting the system under control in a humane way. We will see. Long way to go.
Okay.
And there's a potential scandal, which I just wanted to flag, which is the mayor of El Paso, Oscar Lessa. He's got a huge problem with illegal immigrants in El Paso. That's a central place where they come over. He's been busing more migrants to New York than anyone, but he does it in an organised way.
Yes,
he's a Democrat.
Yeah.
And he's not trying to screw over New York. He actually organises it with them. But basically, the border CBP, the border patrol, have been, when they overrun the number of people they've got in their centres, they just release them onto the streets of El Paso. So they've got a real problem with people not being.
By the way, El Paso is directly across the border from Juarez, which is a city of several million people.
Yeah,
and which I don't know what it's like now, but at one point had a very, very, very severe violence problem.
Yeah. Now, what the potential scandal is that he's been under pressure from the council to declare an emergency about the number of migrants they've been taking. That would open extra federal funding if they did that. One city council member, Claudia Rodriguez, told reporters she'd asked the mayor why there wasn't an emergency declaration, and he said that the White House asked him not to. And then at a council meeting, he said, the White House has asked at this point for us to not do that, and they'll continue to work with us and continue to give us supply money through FEMA and reimbursements as we continue to move forward. A Republican congressman said that he's heard from other local legislators that the same kind of thing has been happening, that they've been asked to not declare a state of emergency until after the midterms, and they're going to get federal funding in the meanwhile. He's a Republican whose interest it is to play that up. This is very early days. This is not like Lessa. As soon as this story came out, which has all been not from the conservative media, it's all been from the mainstream media. As soon as this story came out, Lessa changed his mind and he denied it and said, no, they never said that to me.
Right.
This is only a couple of days old. So you can bet your life Fox News is all over this one. We're going to be hearing more about this one way or another.
Yes.
This may end up quite a scandal. This may end up not. I'm just flagging it. It's building one way or another. The other thing I'd say, there's real quick things, last minute squeeze. 30 million Americans have hearing loss. 13 million Americans have hearing loss. 10 million under 60. Final rule issued by the FDA last week on hearing aids.
Yes.
They can now be bought at a store or online without a prescription, exam, or audiologist.
Right.
The FDA says they'll lower costs by $3,000 a pair. They can go even better than that. Walmart's offering them for $200 this week.
Okay.
Bang. So, and that's because of an executive order from July 2021. So that was really good.
There you go.
Because you don't hear about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's good. Another thing,
If everyone had a voice as loud as mine, then there'd be no need for hearing aids. But I understand, though.
People who want to listen to me foolishly and my mushrooms. The student loan debt form is out. 8 million people have already filled it out in a few days. I will see if the courts enjoin the payment from it. But really simple form. It's like really simple. Does not require proof of income. That will be required by 2024, apparently.
Yep.
Remember, the agency involved does not have any details of students' income. So when people finally attest to their income, it's going to be hard to check. Might be a little bit of fraud involved in that one. We'll see on that one. E. Jean Carroll, I'll tell you, I'm going to be quick. Just bang, 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 bang.
Yep.
E. Jean Carroll has 2 lawsuits going at once. She's the one who accused Trump of rape back in the 90s in a department store. There's one lawsuit in New York for rape because they've just opened the possibility of doing that, even though it's normally against the statute of limitations, after the statute of limitations, but not in this case. And she got a second one in DC for defamation.
Yes.
Because of the way Trump denied the rape, implied that she was a liar.
Yes.
That's what she's suing him for. His main defense to that defamation is that he was acting within the scope of his employment.
Right.
Because he was president and he was defending these attacks, these political attacks. So you should sue his employer, not him. If you sue his employer, that's the government. You're not allowed to sue the government for defamation. So dismissal.
Yes.
That's what his main defense, right?
Yeah.
Fortunately for Trump, he just did it again. He just called Carroll's lawsuit a complete con job, a hoax and a lie. And he finished off with, and while I'm not supposed to say it, I will. This woman is not my type. He clearly didn't understand when people were saying, don't say that. They didn't mean that she's not your type.
Yes.
They meant all the stuff about her being a liar and a con artist.
Yeah.
Anyway, that completely invalidates his defense because now he's not the president anymore.
No.
So they can just add 1 count of defamation for this and she can proceed onwards and his entire defense has fallen apart. So that is going to be interesting. And finally, I'm gonna put a video in the homework that you can have a look about. I don't mind DeSantis, like I've said already. I think he's a normal politician. I have problems with some things he's done. For instance, I hate the migrants to Martha's Vineyard thing.
Yeah.
I hate the him punishing Disney for opposing one of his policies. They took away a tax cut. That's just authoritarian and against the First Amendment. I hate his stupid law about trying to make social media companies force them to publish conservative points of view when it should be their own business. I hate all that. The thing I hate most is this. That Florida voted in 2018 to allow felons ex-felons to vote. And he tried to make it hard for them to vote. They ended up rewriting the rules so that it didn't apply to murderers and sex offenders. And it was a really complicated process which no one really understood. A bunch of people voted as a result of that in 2020. And now he's created this goon squad. I think they're called the Office of Election Crimes and Security. It's going around trying to arrest people who voted incorrectly and thinking that they were able to because they were ex-felons when they actually weren't. They've already arrested 20 people. He held a press conference, a big beating chest. Well, I'm such a hero kind of press conference. Every single one of those people, every single one of them was told that they were allowed to vote. Like they did not intentionally break the law. They're confused about it. They didn't lie on their forms. None of them lied on their forms.
No.
They told the truth. They were allowed to register to vote. And they shouldn't have been allowed to register to vote. But they were allowed to register to vote, and then they voted honestly with good faith, and then now they've been arrested for it. And that's by contrast to the 3 Floridians who admitted to voting twice in the 2020 election, which is clearly intentional. And there's no doubt they were fraudulent, and they entered a pre-trial intervention program that will allow them to avoid prison time if they successfully complete court-ordered requirements such as performing community service and attending a civics class. These people, the ex-felons, they're facing 5 years jail. None of them will go to jail because none of them clearly intended to break that law, but they are still going to go through a trial. They are still going to have their lives ruined. I want to play you some video. The video I'm linking to in the homework, have a look at it. It's actually the police body cam footage of a number of them being arrested that the Tampa Bay Times got their footage on, got their hands on. It's heartbreaking. These people have been beaten down. They've been broken. They just seem hopeless. They're The police are sheepish and confused and embarrassed.
Yes,
the
yeah.
police don't want to be doing this.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole thing is an absolute travesty. It makes me so angry. This is the thing that I'm actually most annoyed about with DeSantis, that he's basically bullied already broken people who have served their time. They might have done horrible things in the past, but they've served their time. They try and get their lives together, and he's completely screwed them up for what? So he can beat his chest for a few minutes in a press conference that no one's going to remember anyway. It's just infuriating. The way, like, just anyway,
well,
so have a
in
look
the
at
same
it.
way that Trump, lives for rallies, DeSantis seems to live for these press conferences.
He does.
You never see him being more alive than at these press conferences.
And like I said, I don't think he's like Trump. I think if he becomes president, like, I think he's good at dealing with detail. I think he's an intelligent person. I think he's cynical. Man, he's cynical. But I think he's at least rational, and but this kind of stuff, it drives me crazy. So anyway.
I agree with everything that you said, except everything positive that you said.
Fair enough. This is the end of this podcast. Like I said, PEP 104 is different. It's a pre-record. We've already recorded it with Melina Wicks.
Very exciting.
Because she's hard to get her hands on. We're going to be talking about abortion, and we're going to be talking about COVID. I was going to say amongst other things, but no, not other things. We're talking those two in depth.
An unusually focused PEP.
It is indeed. And that's going to be, I'm going to be putting that up on Tuesday, so we don't have two PEPs back to back like a day apart. That would be ridiculous. That is a PEP overdose. That'd be a PEP spray. That's what that would be. So anyway, so look forward to that on Tuesday. Thank you very much, folks. Thank you very much, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good weekend.
Bye. Actually, no, it's not goodbye, because here I am a couple of hours later. I'm having a look at what I just recorded, and I noticed that I forgot to tell you guys the result of the poll I asked you in the comments. I asked you if you were interested in enigmatic descriptions or more literal descriptions, and in my bid to make this the People's Podcast and the Peppers Podcast. And you guys, at least a number of you did respond in an incredibly inconclusive fashion. Some people wanted literal, some people wanted enigmatic, and some people just said, do both. Why can't you do both? The internet is unlimited. And you're right, the internet is unlimited, so I am going to do both. That makes good sense. So in the brackets, I'll have my little enigmatic descriptions, but if you keep on looking past that, you'll see I am going to put time signatures of at least most, if not all, of the topics that we cover. So hopefully that will work out for you guys. Let me know if you approve. And in the meantime, this is going to be goodbye. See you guys with the pre-recorded PEP 104 with Melina next Tuesday. See you then. Bye-bye.